From the National Weather Service in Raleigh, it's Nick Petro with a winter weather update here. This is a 9 a.m. briefing, live briefing here Thursday morning, the 7th of January. This possibility, well, it looks more like a likelihood now for some wintry weather around here beginning late tonight and basically going through all day tomorrow. And, we sent these slides out at 9 a.m. I made just a couple subtle tweaks we sent these out at 6 a.m. rather. And I made a couple subtle tweaks for 9 a.m. for this. And I mainly wanted to throw in here, mention in these slides, the potential for some black ice Saturday morning. Now, I'll get to more of that here in a minute. We haven't made any changes to the watch warning advisories, although you'll notice right there along the Virginia border, the National Weather Service, Blacksburg, has issued a couple advisories and winter storm warnings. That's one of the things we're going to be considering as we head through the next 12 hours here at the National Weather Service Raleigh, is how we want to change or modify any of our watch. We still have a winter storm watch in effect for the triad. And remember, even regardless of if this is changed to an advisory, remember, going from a watch to an advisory is an upgrade. So it pains me to hear when people say, "Oh, the watch has been downgraded to an advisory." No, that is a complete error. It's when you go from a watch to an advisory, that is actually considered an upgrade. So keep that in mind, because there will be some advisories issued for this event and some warnings. We just haven't quite determined where each of those will be at this point. All right. So anyway, what are some of the things that we are considering? Well, before I get to that, really not much has changed here from what we talked about yesterday, with these impacts, with these amounts, with this timing and the location. We're still looking at a heavy, wet nature of the snow. There could be a couple snap trees and power outages. That'll be pretty isolated and localized. Where hazardous travel will develop will depend on, of course, where the heaviest snow accumulations occur, particularly too what time of day they occur. If it'll be easier to develop road problems in the dark, right? So if it's still snowing tomorrow evening, then obviously that'll offer a better chance for hazardous travel, as is the case tonight, late tonight, when it very first starts, if it snows. So during the daytime, it's obviously it's harder to accumulate. There is still some light that gets through and helps to offset some of the unless it's snowing really, really hard, it's hard to accumulate snow in the daytime, at least in this part of the world. All right. So what are our primary forecast challenges? These are our I'm probably not going to always share this type of slide, but I wanted to convey all the uncertainties, okay, because this is a very challenging forecast. All winter weather events in the Carolinas are challenging, but this one especially. And some of the things some of the questions floating around still in our minds are, where will the air be cold enough to support snow? Where the air is cold enough for snow, how much precip will there be? So we know places like, up near the Virginia border, for example, it's going to be cold enough for snow. But the question is, will the deeper moisture to create heavy snow get up there, or will the heavier, precipitation amounts, and I put that precipitation in air quotes, will the heaviest precip fall south where it rains? Where there is cold enough for snow, who knows? Maybe there might not be just simply enough precip getting up into that area. So will there even be enough for notable impacts? Is it too dry for impactful accumulations of rain or snow? So that's one thing we're considering as well. How much snow will fall across more of central North Carolina, like Triangle eastward, on the backside of the low as it is exiting? Could this be enough for impacts? So I'll share what I mean by that here in a minute. So in other words, we have that watch out for the triad right now, but that doesn't mean that places like, Durham, Raleigh, Rocky Mount, and places north, could still see some snow. Okay. And obviously, if and where we should expand warnings and advisories, that's something we're going to be, looking at and considering this afternoon. But these are all of our challenges for today. That said, let me take you to a product, and actually this is publicly available online. But this is an ensemble of like 6 or more different models, high-res models, because we're now close enough in the event where we use our more sort of sophisticated, higher resolution models that do more calculations in more depths and parts of the atmosphere. Technically, they should work a little bit better than, say, a model that's 7 days out. Okay, and there's a whole bunch of these models, and we take and we make an ensemble out of them and look at the mean. So anyway, as I run through this, I'm only sharing this as a way to kind of convey the timing, when and where. So this right here is, let's see, that is midnight tonight. So midnight tonight, you could see the green is where it would be raining, and the blue is where it would be snowing, and the pink would be where there's a mix of rain and snow. So this is midnight, and let me keep going a little bit further here. This here is, let's see, that's 10Z, so that is 4 a.m. tonight. So you could see 4 a.m. tonight, we've got rain approaching, rain already falling in Fayetteville, rain approaching the Triangle, and the western part of the state, obviously it's colder, and it's, would be snow in there, and some light snow approaching the Triad. This is 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. 7 a.m. tomorrow morning, we've got rain across the I-95 corridor. We've got a mixture across the northern half of the US 1 corridor, including the Triangle. And we've got snow, basically, from Burlington west and north. Okay? And a mixture sort of extending back toward Albemarle. And then as we go to basically 24 hours from now, 9 a.m., so this time tomorrow morning, this model suggests that there'll be a mix of wet snowflakes and rain in Raleigh. Smithfield, it'll be raining, and points south and east of Smithfield, it'll be raining. Okay, and probably even points south and east of Clayton, it'll be raining. But then once you get north of here, there's going to be some folks that kind of chuckle when I say this, but I've been advertising this for a long time. Along and north of 85, that's where this model, once again, is showing predominantly snow. Again, that's 24 hours from now, 9 a.m. So anyway, whoops. So that's 24 hours from now. And notice how north of 85, it pretty much stays snow all day long tomorrow. This right here is 1 p.m. tomorrow. So there you have it. You have basically snow along and north of 85. You have a mixture of snow and wet snowflakes basically between 85 and US 1 and east of US 1, including most of the eastern half of the Triangle and the I-95 corridor. You have an all-rain event, all right? And let me go back to my arrow here. So that would be 1 p.m. tomorrow. But look what happens as we go through the late afternoon and evening hours. And notice what's happening. Notice how the rain snow line is shifting eastward, and then this is by 7 p.m. tomorrow. Look at that rain snow line, and that rain snow line is going to be heading east as the cold air is moving in on the back side of the low. So as the back side of the low starts to depart, and the low would be sort of in here, as it departs, we're going to see a changeover to snow for places where it has rained most of the day. And this would be during the evening hours after the sun is set. So the question then becomes is, in this area behind the departing low and after it changes to snow everywhere, how hard will it snow? You know, it's sort of implied here that basically there's a heavy band that might develop right in this region right here. So that's one of our concerns, that we may need to expand perhaps advisories, who knows, maybe even warning criteria, depending on how much that band can produce. We may need to expand warnings further north and further east. Now, unfortunately, that's as far out as this particular ensemble model goes, but I've looked at other ensembles or other models that show this basically continuing to move east. And in fact, while I'm not showing it here, there are many models that I've looked at that show it's snowing even up in Wilson, Edgecombe, Nash, Halifax, and points east from there. So, and even Johnston County. So while I'm not showing it here because this is as far out as this particular ensemble goes, Folks east and northeast of Raleigh, you are not out of the woods either here with this. The question is, you're going to see snow. I can pretty much guarantee that. The question is how much. Is this band on the back side, as it moves across northern, north central, North Carolina, how much snow is it going to put down? So that is the big uncertainty that we're going to try to figure out today, and to see if we need to expand. How much? That's the question. How much? So anyway, there you have it. Now, based on all of this, we've sort of made some tweaks to our snowfall maps, and you'll notice this band of 1 to 2. What yesterday was confined to the triad, and now we've pretty much expanded it across the northern tier of central North Carolina. So that is the general area where we expect a sort of 1 to 2. But somewhere in there, there's going to be some heavier amounts. Somewhere in there. And actually, this may even continue further. With the day, as the day progresses, we may need to expand this 1 to 2 more like over toward Halifax. In fact, the high end amount, the 1 in 10 chance, kind of shows what potentially could happen if that back end of the snow does really get going. So anyway, again, it's a Carolina winter storm, which means it's difficult to predict, and oftentimes we're making tweaks right up to the last minute. So anyway, we can see how this is trending. I wanted to share that with you this morning. That obviously we will probably be making more tweaks to these amounts, but that's our concern right now. It looks like still the most likely place to see impactful snow will be basically the Triad area. So that is becoming a little bit more certain. The question is how much. And how much eastward will the impactfulness, if that's a word, spread eastward? All right. So wrapping this all up, confidence is moderate. I'd say even high that the event will occur, but low on some of the details and impacts. Okay. So we still have a winter storm watch for Forsyth, Guilford, and Davidson County. Advisories, winter weather advisories may be needed for portions of the northern Piedmont and northern coastal plain, as I kind of alluded to. And that an advisory is an upgrade to a watch. All right. And these bullet points I've already kind of alluded to: 1 to 2 inches of snow in that watch area, and maybe even points eastward. Somewhere, we just don't know where, there's going to be a band that lays down 3 or more inches of snow. Okay. Again, particularly north of the Highway 64 corridor is where I think the best chance to see somewhere a band laid down of 3 or more inches. Okay. Again, starting late tonight, probably more like daytime tomorrow or daybreak tomorrow, and lasting all day, which is kind of helpful because when it falls during the daytime, it makes it more difficult to accumulate. But the problem is it's going to continue into tomorrow evening after the sun sets. So, whereas, 24 hours ago, we thought it would be wrapping up by sunset tomorrow. Now it looks like it's going to continue past sunset tomorrow, which will obviously, once the sun goes down, it'll be easier to accumulate snow. And finally, black ice is expected now Saturday morning. We'll have more details on that as we get a little closer. That happens mainly where slushy accumulations have occurred. All right, so that is the latest that I have, 9 a.m. on this Thursday, January 7th.